This guy gets a slap on the wrist for nearly sparking a national race war. And this guy gets 110 years for being involved in an unintentional fatal traffic accident. Does any of this seem fair to you? People ask me all the time, "Hey Brian, do you really use that keto elevate stuff, and does it really work?" The answer is yes and yes. Never in my entire life have I lost body fat so quickly. Not even in my prime at 25, which is over 25 years ago. I'm approaching 54 this year. If you want to support the channel and do your health a favor, grab some with my link in the description. All right, the reason I wanted to go live on this is because I wanted to get your take on this story right now that's trending. Apparently, this truck driver from April of 2019 claims that his brakes went out on Interstate 40, I-40 in Colorado, and he crashed into a bunch of cars parked in rush hour traffic. It ended up killing 4 people. I mean, you can see this is the actual damage right here. This is his truck burning, and you see all these sticks on the ground. This is wood. This is lumber. He was driving a fully loaded lumber truck and rammed into the rush hour traffic. 4 people died. 6 people were seriously injured. He claims that his brakes went out. And I wanted to go over this because a sentence was just handed down to him. 110 consecutive years in prison for something that a lot of people are saying was an accident, that, you know, this accident couldn't have been averted. I've got questions about that. First of all, I have not seen any proof that the actual brakes went out. I haven't seen any, usually like when there's a plane crash, they inspect the black box. NTSB comes out there and they do this whole big investigative routine to find out exactly what happened to the airplane. I don't know if this happened here, but they drug tested him. They alcohol tested him. They did some chemical tests. Everything came out negative. So he wasn't on drugs. He wasn't on alcohol. Did he fall asleep? Were his brakes really out? Did he have other options? Some people say 5 miles before this crash site right here, there was an off ramp, for runaway trucks that he could have used and utilized, and he didn't. My question is, and if you're a truck driver out here, I want you to weigh in on the comment section, because I have never been behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler. I've never hauled anything this huge before. I don't know what the dynamics are. I can only imagine that, not centrifugal force, but forward force, forward motion, all that weight behind your truck. Hilly regions, whether you're going up or down, play a huge factor. Gravity takes effect. You got to keep some serious distance. You have to be acutely aware of what's going on. Are your brakes working? Can you downshift? Is downshifting an option? If you were behind, and I know we're armchair quarterbacking on this, but if you were behind the wheel of that truck, and it's easy for us to say because we weren't in that situation. He apparently was going 85 miles an hour when he struck these vehicles. Are there other options? I mean, if you were behind the wheel and your brakes were out, and you exhausted all the other options, would you choose to go into a bunch of stopped cars, or would you try to go off the road and do the best you could? Like if you were an airline pilot, would you nose down into a residential area, or if you could help it, would you try to go into a lake or a stream or a pond or a non highly populated area? What would you do? So I have a lot of questions about this, and I know a lot of people are like, 110 years, that's really unfair. It seems unfair to me too, especially if it was truly an accident. But I don't know. I can't sit here and say that it was an accident or not. Now, there's this huge petition that people are wanting others to sign, and it's closing in on 4 million people who've signed it. I'll read you what this petition says and what their plea is. What they're asking for. It says, after commutation as time served, or grant clemency to Rohel Lazaro Aguilera Medeiros, 23. It says, we all know of the crash that happened on I-70 in Denver. It says, most of us have heard the facts in the case.
I don't know. I can't even sit here and say that I know all the facts in the case, but we are going to, try to discover and uncover some things. Rohel Medeiros, 23, has nothing on his driving record or on his criminal history. He had complied with every single request by the Jefferson County courts and investigators in the case. He's passed all the drug and alcohol tests that were given, including a chemical test. This accident was not intentional, nor was it a criminal act on the driver's part. No, now, but was it an act of negligence? In other words, are there things that he could have done that he didn't do? Are there things that he didn't do that he could have done? This accident was not intentional, nor was it a criminal act on the driver's part. No one but the trucking company he is or was employed by should be held responsible for this accident. No, we are not trying to make it seem any less of a tragic accident that it is, because yes, lives were lost. We are trying to hold the person who needs to be held responsible. I think it's accountable. The trucking company has had several inspections since 2017 with several mechanical violations. I would say that that's a factor. If it's true that the trucking company had several mechanical violations on its record, that's definitely something to look at. There are many things Rohel could have done to avoid the courts, but he took responsibility. Is there stuff that he could have done to avoid the accident, or at least avoid involving that many people in the accident? I mean, that's pretty horrific. Killing 4 people and seriously injuring 6. But he took responsibility, showed up, and severely apologized to the victims' families. Some of the families even offered forgiveness. Rohel is not a criminal. The company he was working for knew the federal laws that go into truck driving, but they failed to follow those laws. Rohel has said several times that he wishes that he had the courage to crash and take his own life that day. I don't know if that would be necessary. He was near an overpass, so there's a possibility that he could have crashed into one of those pillars. It's not like he could have gone off. It doesn't look like, from the pictures that I saw in this video right here, if it's true that, let's see, which way was the truck pointed here? Not sure which way the truck was pointing. I'm not sure if he was coming this way or this way. Let's see. Let's just say that one of the factors is, okay, he could have taken, this side right here, which looks like it's on a pretty steep, incline, or he could have taken this over here. I'm not sure if there's a pillar here, but if there was and he slammed into that pillar at 85 miles per hour, he might lose his life. There have been people in cars, small cars, compact cars, who've slammed into pillars at high speeds and they didn't lose their life. I can only imagine that with that big engine block in front of that truck, that he would have been fairly protected. Seems like that, in my opinion, and again, this is armchair quarterbacking, but in my opinion, it seems like it's a better option to, do a dance with the pillar or hit the grass than, jeopardize other people's lives. I don't know. But back to this petition. This tragic accident wasn't done with intent. It wasn't a criminal act. It was an accident. Since he has been sentenced, I have changed this to granting Rohel clemency or commutation as time served. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page because right now it's got 3,893,431 signatures. Now it has 3.914 million signatures. And according to change.org, this is one of the highest signed signature, petitions that they've had in their history. So let's go over this. Here's one of the news articles right here.
And for a truck driver sentenced to 110 years in prison for a fiery crash that killed 4 people along I-70. Rohel Aguilera Medeiros was found guilty by a jury and sentenced this week in Jefferson County District Court.
So that sentence has some people very upset. CBS 4's Rick Salwinger covered this case since that crash happened in 2019 and now reports on the efforts to lessen his sentence.
James Cogan, the attorney for the truck driver, says there will be an appeal, but it won't be based on that 110-year sentence. Instead, it will be about any errors that might have occurred during the trial. But still, that sentence is raising more than just eyebrows. For those who drive the big rigs, what happened in Colorado this week is startling. 110 years in prison for Rohel Aguilera Medeiros.
Yeah, that's why I opened this up to a live stream. Sliding into it says, Brian's talking about a situation he has not researched. I said that. I've never been behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler. I don't know the dynamics of the truck. I don't know the characteristics. That's why I opened this up to a live stream. If there's any truckers out here, is it an option to downshift or at least slow your speed down through downshifting so you don't have to hit a pile of cars at 85 miles an hour? Is that an option? Seems like it would be, but again, I've never been behind the wheel of a big rig on this. Can you pull an emergency brake? Is there something that you can do before downshifting if you find out that you have lost your brakes, other than the, up 5 miles up the road, where it's got those runaway truck ramps? So is there something? That's why we're no downshifting at, what's SOD? There's no, you can't downshift. So if you lose your brakes, there is no downshifting. Okay, I didn't know that. Downshifting at SPD? What's SPD?
In the fiery 2019 crash that occurred after losing his brakes.
It's unbelievable, honestly, because it could happen anytime, anywhere. And if the brakes fail, the brakes fail. It's a malfunction.
4 people were killed. The truck driver convicted of vehicular homicide, assault, and recklessness, bypassing a runaway truck ramp and swerving into stopped traffic on I-70.
I'm begging for forgiveness.
His attorney told CBS 4 there will be an appeal. An online petition on change.org has around 2 million signatures now calling for clemency or commutation of the sentence.
Abel says you can use Jake brakes if you have them, but it won't stop you in time at highway speeds. I would say hitting something at a slower speed than 85 miles per hour would be a good thing.
The governor addressed that.
We review all clemency applications. We've yet to receive one from the individual.
Some, but not all, the victims of the crash settled lawsuits against the trucking company involved, but it has since gone out of business. The truck driver now left to bear the brunt of what happened.
The loss of life is sad regardless, but 110 years, that seems a bit much.
Truckers...
I agree. For somebody who didn't do... I would give the guy the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't do this intentionally. Was there negligence? Was there inexperience involved in this whole thing? I would say yes, maybe. But definitely 110 years... Holy cow. I mean, and on the other hand, you've got people who have committed grave atrocities. Like, for example, in 1978, there was that triple homicide that they pinned on Kevin Strickland. Kevin Strickland, according to the people that they actually caught that actually ended up owning up to the triple homicide, according to them, Kevin Strickland didn't do it. Kevin Strickland stayed in prison as an innocent man for 43 years. The guys who actually committed the triple homicide, intentionally killed 3 people, only got 10 years each. That's an intentional murder. Thought out, planned ahead, executed. And then this guy, who it looks like it was an accident, gets 110 years? You got Jussie Smollett, who is about to spark. His intention was to spark a frickin' race war by hiring 2 guys to put a noose around his neck and pour bleach on him during a polar vortex. And this guy's only going to get a slap on the wrist, probably not do any jail time, and just be on probation for 3 years. Intentionally wanting to start a race war. And then you got this guy who, through inexperience or negligence or whatever, did not intend to kill somebody. And he's going to spend 110 years behind bars? Seems quite unfair.
Like him who passed by on I-70 may not notice, but there's a small memorial to this very major
Listen to what this guy says right here.
The attorney for the truck driver says the law does not differentiate between negligent acts, like occurred in this case, and someone who might go out and plan and carry out a mass shooting.
If it's true that the law does not distinguish between somebody who intentionally murders somebody and a negligent act that ends up in, taking somebody's life, that is unjust. That is unjust. One of the main reasons that I wanted to do this video is so that I could get your take on it in the comment section below, because none of us is greater than all of us. And the second thing is, an injustice that happens to one man anywhere is an injustice that will happen to all men everywhere. I would not want to be facing 110 years because of an accident on my part, or a negligent act, or something that I was inexperienced in driving this truck down the road. Unbelievable that there's a draconian law out there that doesn't distinguish between intentional murder and accidental, homicide. Truly, truly unbelievable. One of the things that I wanted to show you was and here's some of the people that actually died. Among the victims of the deadly crash were Stanley Politano, 69, of Arvada, Colorado. This guy right here, Miguel Orellano, who is 24, Doyle Harrison, and William Bailey. Those are the 4 people that died. But down under here, I wanted to. There was a comment that I wanted to read. This person right here says, give 110 years by all means for the persons responsible for the maintenance of the truck, not the poor soul tasked to drive it. He didn't barrel down the highway with the intent to cause death. From the article, it's obvious he was trying to avoid hitting anything. Not his fault that there was a traffic snarl up ahead. He should go free right now. Who agrees with that? Who agrees that he should absolutely go free? Some people are going, 110 years, that's a little stiff. Maybe you should get 5 or 10 years, but 110 years? I don't think so. This guy says, here, let me see if I can expand this for you so we can take a look at some of these comments a little bit easier. This person says 110 years is too long, but clemency for all the charges is unjustified. About 75 kilometers from the crash site, he noticed problems with his brakes, stopped the truck, called 2 other truckers, and then decided to continue on. Once his brakes failed, he moved the truck to the shoulder, which was a good choice, but then re-entered the motorway's lanes to avoid crashing into the rear end of a park trailer, which was a poor choice because crashing into it would have stopped his runaway truck. Instead, he carried on driving into the city where there was much more traffic. This person says right here, details, details. Lefties don't like no stinking details. This person says, which is why the sentence is, I think they mean appropriate. He does need to do some time, 10 plus years maybe. No clemency, just fry him, this person says. So many people have so many different opinions. So my question is, how soon before the wreck did he notice that his brakes went out? If it's true that he noticed that his brakes were going out or had gone out before that truck ramp designed to stop those runaway trucks, why didn't he take it? If he did pull over to the side of the road and get the advice of truck drivers or whatever, and then entered onto the motorway or the interstate, why did he do that? Could he have downshifted? Is there, would the Jake brake, which I've never heard of, have played a factor in slowing him down before he hit the pile at 85 miles an hour? What do you guys think? I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Leave your thoughts about this. None of us is greater than all of us. And 110 years for what appears to be or what might be an accident seems pretty stiff when people who have actually gone out there and intentionally taken the life of other people, they don't get near that. 5-10 years max. Who is it? Who was it that Amber Geiger murdered Botham Jean in his own apartment, and she's up for parole this year, 2022. She'll be up for parole. She's supposed to go to jail for just 10 years for killing a guy sitting on his couch, eating ice cream, watching TV in his own apartment, and her excuse was, well, I thought it was my apartment. Boom, boom, boom. Ending a life. Only gets 10 years, but this guy's going to be facing 110 years. Doesn't seem just to me. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
While we have time and it still retains some of its perceived value, maybe it'd be a good idea to convert your worthless fiat into valuable, storable food. Don't be the one who waits till the food riots start happening.
You don't want to be fighting panicking people in the store over that last jar of peanut butter. At Prepare with High Impact Flicks, you can get up to 3 air and watertight gasket-sealed ammo cans, each filled with a 4-week emergency supply. 7 food varieties, 2,000 calories a day, 284 servings, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and each meal comes in a resealable, heavy-duty 4-layered pouch. And it's got a 25-year shelf life. Every order of a 4-week supply gets you $100 off plus free shipping. Here's how simple it is to make. I'm going to cook up some Granny's home-style potato soup. People are going to think I'm a culinary hero. You open the pouch, boil 4.5 cups of water, stir the contents, simmer on low heat for 15 to 20 minutes, take it off the heat, then let it set for 2 to 3 minutes before you serve it up.
Man, this stuff's so good. People are going to think Granny stopped by and filled your kitchen with a whole bunch of love. Well, if Granny does stop by, she's going to fill your behind with a whole bunch of buckshot if you keep talking with your mouth full. Wipe your dang beard off. It's embarrassing.
So maybe convert some of your worthless fiat into valuable food while you still can. Order now and get $100 off of up to 3 4-week emergency food supplies at preparewithhighimpactflix.com. The link is in the description.